And thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch for this Thursday, October 7th. I'm Heather Sells. Today, a deal between Democrats and Republicans on the debt ceiling, and a federal judge blocks the Texas ban on abortions after a heartbeat is detected. Plus,
in order for the feds to basically police parents is getting pushback from more than just parents. And the latest on China's power play in Southeast Asia and why it might be an equal threat to the United States. Plus,
you've got to lead your kids out of darkness, and you have to have the tools to do that.
Facebook, Instagram, and teen suicide. What you can do to help your child. Those stories and more ahead today on NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
And we begin today with a setback for the historic Texas abortion law. A federal judge has ordered the Lone Star State to suspend the new law that has banned most abortions in Texas since September. U.S. District Judge Robert Pittman issued the order late Wednesday, freezing Senate Bill 8, which bans abortions after 6 weeks once a heartbeat is detected. That decision is the first legal blow to the Texas law since the U.S. Supreme Court allowed it to take effect last month. Texas officials are expected to appeal. Well, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Minority Leader Mitch McConnell were still negotiating a short-term deal early today to raise the federal government's debt limit. That after McConnell made an offer Wednesday that would let Democrats increase the ceiling. If the ceiling isn't raised, the government would default, which would have severe consequences.
Our fragile recovery would be thrown into reverse. We would likely experience a recession. Millions of jobs would be lost, and the pain would endure well past the resolution of the crisis.
The effects would be cascading. So day one would be bad, but the cascading effects in the ensuing weeks could go anywhere from a recession to a complete catastrophe for the global economy.
For now, a possible crisis has been averted. If Washington defaulted, government checks would stop going out on Social Security to the military and more. Stocks would likely fall and interest rates rise, sending up mortgage rates and other loans. Many analysts argue the debt ceiling is a symptom of a deeper problem.
The reality is the U.S. government continues to make more promises than it has the ability to pay. And that's what leads us to this problem. This is, Senator Manchin just a few weeks ago says this is the height of fiscal insanity. When we cannot even pay for the existing social programs, we're going to add a whole bunch more.
Although McConnell and Schumer appear to be on their way towards finalizing a deal, it would only last until December, and both parties could be right back at the negotiating table. Well, President Joe Biden's approval rating has dropped again. A Quinnipiac University poll shows just a 38% approval rating for the president. That's down from 42% just weeks ago, down from a high of 50% back in February. Among Democrats, he still has an 80% approval rating, and that is compared to 4% from Republicans and 32% from independents. Republicans and independents make up the largest part of the polling sample. Quinnipiac pollster Tim Malloy says Biden has been battered on trust, doubted on leadership, and challenged on overall competency. Well, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland's order for the FBI to basically help police parents is getting pushback from some states. On Monday, Garland ordered the FBI to work with local law enforcement to protect school board members, teachers, and other public school employees in response to what he called a disturbing trend of threats. Now, a slew of Republican attorney generals say Garland's order goes too far and is likely unconstitutional. They say it's a form of intimidation to prevent parents from speaking out on issues like critical race theory. Garland said in his memo that spirited debate about policy matters is protected by the Constitution, but that does not extend to threats of violence or intimidation. Garland's order comes after numerous school board meetings across the country have erupted in chaos as parents voice concerns about critical race theory, transgender policies, and pandemic restrictions. Those debates have led parents and board members to face off in heated discussions and angry outbursts. Marine Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller, Jr., who got in trouble for criticizing top brass over Afghanistan troop withdrawal, was released from the brig Tuesday. In August, Scheller posted a video where he condemned the military and U.S. government for, quote, dereliction of duty, specifically naming General Kenneth McKenzie. A military spokesperson says Scheller was released as part of an agreement between Scheller, his defense counsel, and the commanding general. You can find the full story on that at cbnnews.com, including what's next for Scheller. Well, in recent weeks, more than 15,000 Haitian migrants have entered the U.S. by crossing the Rio Grande River near Del Rio, Texas. Farther south, an even bigger wave of Haitians is on their way. Chuck Holton has the story from Panama.
The very first civilization that migrants come to when they walk through the Darien Gap is this village behind me of Bajo Chiquito. And it's about 400 Indians who live here. They have no running water or electricity. But today they're receiving 800 to 1,000 migrants every day coming through the jungle into their village. And it's turned the village into an open pit sewer.
The migrants come from all over the world, and the majority right now are from Haiti. They've heard that pregnant women and families with children get preferential treatment when they get to the U.S., so record numbers of children are being forced to make the deadly 6-day walk through the jungle. Many, like these Haitian kids, arrive in Panama without their parents, leaving the government to determine what to do with them.
¿Cuántos años tienes tú? 6. Tú tienes 6 años. ¿Y ella?
Lucila Velasquez is the wife of the mayor. She says the children suffer the most.
Llegaba la cantidad de 5,000 habitantes aquí. En los niños que ya que vienen 8 o 10 días en ese camino de la selva del Darién, pasando hambre, se mojan con la lluvia, por cuestión de la naturaleza, obvio que no podemos detenernos, ¿no? Y lamentablemente hay pérdida de vida de niños atravesando ese territorio, la selva.
So we've been here about an hour, and this place is an absolute madhouse now, like nothing we've ever seen here before. They're coming nonstop out of the jungle, always in very bad shape, and they're trying to get them out of here as soon as they can. So they put them on boats and send them downriver to the camp down there, which is also full. The ones who were in the camp the last time I was here have already gone to the United States and are part of the record numbers that they're seeing at the U.S. southern border right now. And so judging by what I see behind me, those numbers are going to explode because there is a large glut of migrants that are making their way north, much larger than there was a couple months ago.
Despite an August agreement between Panama and Colombia to limit the daily number of migrants entering Panama to 600, the vast jungle makes enforcing that agreement almost impossible. Reports from the Colombian side of the gap estimate more than 20,000 Haitians waiting to start their journey. About the only delay is the capacity of the smugglers who help them across, and that capacity grows daily, meaning things will likely get worse here in Panama and then at the U.S. southern border within the next month or so. From the Darien jungle, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Coming up, the latest on China's show of power with Taiwan and how it could be tied to a power play with the U.S.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN NewsWatch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
No Spur Falls, man. Come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Welcome back. Taiwan's defense minister says China could be ready to mount a full-scale invasion of the island by 2025. CNN reported that warning just days after China sent more than 150 warplanes over Taiwanese airspace. On this week's episode of The Global Lane, analyst Gordon Chang says the Chinese Communist Party may be testing America's resolve.
A lot of people say, well, this is just China trying to show off because this started in an intensified phase on Friday, which was China's National Day, marking the 72nd anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic. What I'm concerned about is that when we don't push back, even though this might be just chest beating, China thinks it can do more. And when it thinks it can do more, it moves much further in a much more provocative way, which means that it does then start to really create danger in the region. And that's largely because they're doing things which people have to oppose. So, for instance, we've seen dangerous intercepts of the U.S. Navy and the U.S. Air Force in the global commons. One of those incidents could go wrong. And clearly, one of these incidents directed against Taiwan, that could go wrong as well.
All it takes is one shot, right? One wrong step. So if China's in fact emboldened by the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, what else, Gordon, has given the CCP a little more courage to flex its muscle? Would General Milley's phone call have something to do with this? The one that he made last January, of course, to the Chinese general, informing him that he'd be notified before any U.S. military action against China?
Yeah, I think that General Milley's two phone calls, the one in October and the one in January, also reinforced in the minds of Chinese leaders that the U.S. is in terminal decline and cannot oppose China. So I think that what it did was essentially told the Chinese regime that they can do what they want. And also what has really been of concern, Gary, is that especially after the fall of Kabul, we have seen the Biden administration generally go soft on China, and that could be for a number of reasons. But I think that that also would embolden the Chinese because they, again, believe that we're not standing up to them.
Well, America sends Taiwan military hardware. I know the United States has no defense treaty with the island. So how likely is it that this administration will defend China if it does defend Taiwan?
That's a great question. And we don't know the answer to that because we don't have an obligation to defend Taiwan. And as you point out, we don't have a mutual defense treaty. And this administration is not inclined to engage in talks leading to one.
I know China President Xi Jinping seems determined to reunify Taiwan with the mainland, either peacefully or by force if necessary. Why is Taiwan so important to him? Why is the CCP determined to, quote, take all necessary measures to resolutely crush all attempts at Taiwanese independence?
I think there are a lot of reasons for it. In general, Xi Jinping believes in what he calls reunification and what Taiwan calls unification, because the People's Republic has never ruled the island. You can look at this in the context of the unresolved Chinese Civil War, but the people in Taiwan now believe that they are not Chinese. So, I think from Xi Jinping's point of view, he wants, he believes that China has a right to control all sorts of territories. He's even propagated the notion that China is the only sovereign state in the world. So you can see that he's the most aggressive leader in history. But there's one other thing. And right now there is political turmoil at the top of the Communist Party. Xi Jinping's policies have not worked, and a number of people are attacking him. And so I think that Xi is sort of lashing out.
And finally, Gordon, no one wants a war with China over Taiwan. So how would military action there affect the United States and the world?
Well, since the middle or end of the 19th century, we Americans have drawn our western defense perimeter off the coast of East Asia, and Taiwan is in the center of that line where the East China Sea and South China Sea meet, and that means it is critical to our defense. But even more important than that, we have Taiwan, a vibrant democracy. China is attacking not only our democracy, but the whole notion of democracy. So we cannot allow China to take over any democracy, especially as one as important as Taiwan. After the fall of Kabul, our allies and friends have been disheartened. If we allow China to take Taiwan, we probably are not going to have any more friends in the world. It's that important to us.
Okay, Gordon Chang, thank you for sharing your time and insights with us today, Gordon. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary.
And you can watch Global Lane on this station or on the CBN News Channel tonight at 8:30 Eastern. Still ahead, social media, teen suicide, and what parents can do to help their kids.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel. Now available at cbnradio.com.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Facebook and its affiliated sites like Instagram are under scrutiny, especially when it comes to its influence on adolescents. Our Ephraim Graham talked with media analyst Dr. Ted Baer about the growing concern over social media and suicide among teens.
So first of all, what's happening this week with these social giants? What's happening?
Well, Facebook is such a dominant force. I'm an attorney once upon a time. My son is an attorney for a U.S. attorney in New Orleans. These are serious issues. A lot of the artificial intelligence, the AI, as you can see in the movie Social Dilemma, which was made by some of the people who started and were partners in the origination of these services, it gets people hooked, and it sort of plays into their fears and frustrations. And a lot of it plays into their fears and frustrations, which lead down the road, especially susceptible to teen suicide. I was head of a department at City University, New York, and we brought 62 professors together to determine the first media literacy course. And now there are hundreds of thousands of studies, And kids are extremely vulnerable in the teenage years because that's the self-esteem years. And 66% of the young girls have low self-esteem. So what they do is they play on that, and then they get them to move in a direction where they want to commit suicide. It's just like the program 13 Reasons Why, which was a disgrace because so many kids did end up. In fact, my development officer, his son, did that 5 years ago, and it's a horrible thing. So curbing them in is going to be very difficult. So it's nice to see people coming together and saying this is a gigantic issue, whether they're on the left or the right or whatever, and saying we've got to protect our kids. I've got 15 grandkids, so I'm very much interested in this issue, beside the millions of people who come to movieguide.org every day.
What kind of response is Facebook giving to the criticism?
Well, as I told you, I was an attorney with the U.S. attorneys. They're giving these lukewarm, sort of objectionary, just trying to pass it off. We're doing our best. Well, they're not doing their best because they could have dealt with it. They're doing, well, we're taking care of some of these. They're not taking care of them. They should prevent them. They did do something special with Instagram. They were going to start a new service to reach more and more young people. I look at cognitive development theory and the media literacy. The young ones who are in the concrete stage are even more vulnerable than the ones that are in the self-esteem age. So if they had gone in that direction, the good news is they stopped going in that direction. And the better news would be if they had decided that they're not going to go in any of these directions and they're not going to play on people's fears. Fear attracts people to the news. When I was head of the department at Berkeley, et cetera, I teach people, if it bleeds, it leads. You want to have something that captures. You don't want to have something that's just a normal. This is the biggest fire ever. And people get afraid, and that gets them to watch more and more of Facebook, the news, or whatever else. So you have to say, we're going to fight against this, even though it may mean that we're not going to have as many teenagers going to Facebook.
What do you think is next in all of this?
I think sooner or later, if it goes down this road and you're going to get more and more offensive material and more design by the AI, and I refer to the movie Social Dilemma, which is excellent, you're going to have some government intervention. I'm pretty much against government intervention unless it's absolutely necessary. I think the early Paramount Picture cases actually hurt our country more than they were before that, when the studios were in control, because my father was a star. So I think government intervention is always a two-edged sword. Some of it will be good. Some of it could be limiting our freedoms even more. But it's a very problematic issue. And if they don't take their own it's like de Tocqueville said, we either have self-discipline or the whip of tyranny. And we don't want to have the whip of tyranny. So I hope that Facebook understands the word self-discipline means you don't, just play on the fears of our kids to get them down the path where many of them are extremely vulnerable.
While we wait for that, what would you suggest to parents to do in terms of helping their kids survive on social media?
That's the best question I've heard. And I just did another show about this, and I didn't hear that question. There's a lot of things you can do. There are great courses, great sites. We have a course on the Media-Wise family and the Culture-Wise family. We know how to teach kids to be media and culture-wise. In fact, one of my doctor-advised people who meets with me once a month, I called and they said, I can't talk because my teenage daughter is cutting. So I sent them the Media-Wise family book, and they worked through all the exercises with them. You can teach children to be discerning on their own and to make the wise decisions. That's the point of this. And there are a lot of courses out there. Ours is a little bit more in-depth, academic, and more dealing with cognitive development theory and media literacy with a biblical base. So there are tools out there to help you teach your children not to go down that path. And it's one of my sad points that our development officer's son before we could reach him. Didn't do that. But this other person that I talked to once a month got the book, started working with her teenager. She was at the top of her class before the COVID shut down. She was very pretty. She went through all the self-esteem issues. She was cutting herself, and she stopped. And now she's got control of her life. And that's what you want. You want them to develop the plumb line to be able to make the difference. And that involves an educational process. And education comes from the Latin word educo, to lead out of darkness. You've got to lead your kids out of darkness, and you have to have the tools to do that.
Coming up, what NBA superstar Shaquille O'Neal says is most important to him.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN NewsWatch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Superbook fans, here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man coming.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
He may be a superstar athlete, but former NBA player Shaquille O'Neal is rejecting the culture that so often accompanies fame. O'Neal told the New York Post celebrities can be crazy, and he's denouncing his, quote, celebrityness. He says he doesn't believe wealth or success makes him any better than anyone else, describing himself as a regular person. He said he'd rather be known as being kind. Like a few months ago, when he and the General Auto gave $35,000 to his favorite restaurant in Atlanta for an employee relief fund to help those who've struggled during the pandemic. The owner says the gift made a huge difference for the restaurant staff. And that's it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. You can watch more of our programs on the CBN News Channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, please give us your feedback by emailing newswatch@cbn.com. We hope that you have a great day. Thanks for joining us.